Alright, check it. Anime openings are a pretty key essential to what makes an anime recognizable. I'm positive that everyone watching this video, regardless if you listen to openings on your off time, there's probably at least a few out there you mess with heavy, just because an anime opening has so many things to factor in. There's always going to be at least one opening out there for everyone. And I don't really care if you're still in the closet for this sort of thing, like being able to bop to anime openings on the regular, but I really wanted to dedicate a whole video to this sort of topic because anime openings are one of my favorite aspects of this medium, and I know a lot of it comes from just growing up with my childhood being flooded in with all these sort of random abundance of color and sound. However, my experience with anime openings have been eye-opening to my personal creativity, so if it's easy for me to say in short, then the question is, how does an anime opening make you feel? Over the years that I've been consuming openings, nostalgia has always for sure been a factor, which played a pretty big role into my love for anime. The fact I grew up along with many of you guys in a time where as soon as I turned on the TV before school, I would just hear banger after banger when it came to all these anime that some people say are cartoons, but like legally speaking, they are anime. Like, come on now. People should know by now that Pokemon is an anime, not a cartoon. Same goes for shows like Beyblade, Bakugan, or Yu-Gi-Oh! Even. The list goes on for those kind of shows, but even touching a bit into the 90s, because growing up, I was always flooded in with Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Inuyasha from any Showtime on Toonami. Those were like the staples for me growing up. And I honestly couldn't tell you how I managed to stay up back then. Like, it was almost nearly impossible to get to that 2 a.m. episode of Attack on Titan, and now it's like nothing to stay up that late. I may or may not just have severe insomnia, but oh well. Nostalgia though is something I'd never be quick to get rid of from the conversation when it comes to openings, because regardless or not, you will have some bias towards it, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's about how the anime opening makes you feel, despite of what anyone else has to say. Something that I think is quite important to note though is kind of steering away from any nostalgia base, but setting the mood or tone for your series with your opening. You know, these days it's kind of hard to find a lot of unique openings that can really capture its series. Back then, we had strictly toned-esque openings for the type of series you were getting yourself into. And looking back, we had one of my personal favorites, Grain from 2004's Monster, composed by Kuniaki Hashima, which I probably butchered his name or not, but who knows. Not to mention Death Note's first opening, The World by Nightmare, and Tokyo Ghoul's Unravel by TK. But not because of its legendary name these anime openings have made for itself over the years, but because of all these openings know how to set the mood for its series. And an opening can be good and still not match the series. I'm not saying I have a problem with that. However, what I am trying to say is that when an opening can match the tone of a series while it's still being a banger of composition is when I really start to feel something from the series going into the episode. Being in the same space of tone and mood for an opening, be that as it may, there's something out there that may or may not hurt your enjoyment towards an opening, maybe even the series if you care that much, but spoilers. Spoilers within an opening is something I personally never really had an issue with, just because 99% of the time, when you are an anime only, you don't really know whether or not what's happening in the opening is actually going to happen or not until it actually comes about. And on the other side, if you read the manga for whatever the series may be, is then it's actually more of a treat of some sort when you get to see some of your favorite moments getting that adaptation you've been waiting to see in animation and quality that won't entirely reflect the anime. So in a sense, you get the opening sequence to portray what you read, and on top of that, you get the actual episode containing the content you've been waiting to watch. So all in all, it's pretty much a win-win in my eyes. Well, that's just like how I like to view it, so that way I don't actually get pissed off when I do get spoiled on something I've been waiting to figure out on my own through the episodes of the anime. On the topic of spoilers in openings though, I think One Piece's new opening, Opening 26 Us, was probably in competition for my favorite opening of all time. And funnily enough, a big reason for that is the spoilers in the opening. The opening gave off a huge, colorful, and vibrant feeling to it that set the tone for One Piece's new arc, Egghead Island. And to tell you the truth, I was absolutely blown away by this opening because of just how much they were able to encapsulate from the manga material within this opening. It had everything a fan of the current run of the manga could dream for and more. There's even a moment in the opening where I think they could have potentially spoiled manga readers, which is even more crazy when you think about it, but the opening completely took everything it needed to make it as perfect as possible. The song though is still something that's gotta grow on me, but more and more I listen to it, I think this opening just gets me more excited to watch the newest episode, and to me, that's how an opening should make you feel when you're about to embark into a new episode. Visually, however, its opening took the trophy for opening of the year, and we're barely into the year of 2024. But what else stacks up with it for their time of release in terms of visuals? Well, if we look back over the years, Tank from Cowboy Bebop was a visual and just iconic masterpiece for its time, and it always got you in the right seat ready for any episode of Bebop to air. Asterix being Bleach's first opening was also another iconic gem that was both visually and audibly pleasing and my personal favorite Bleach opening. Honestly, most of the openings that came out back then were just on a whole other level when it came to fitting the vibe of this series, while it's still being as unique and creative as possible, which kind of makes me think we're heading back in that direction again in recent years. Just the other week, Mashle dropped its second opening, which if you know anything about Mashle, you would know that it's not the most serious series in the world, and to have an opening as catchy and as rhythmic as it was, it just flowed well with the creativity of the opening being as vibrant as it was. I can't forget about JoJo's either. It's quite literally a staple for how unexpected the opening can be because of JoJo's bizarre-like nature, and same goes with Mob Psycho. Each of its openings always seem to be like the animators were just pitching stuff in the room of ideas and not trashing anything at all, and they always just never seem to neglect how creative an opening can be for its series. And that to me, while it may not be like the spoilers we have in its own art form, instead of knowing what's to come next from these anime, you're more in question of what's going to happen when the episode starts. And as much as I like to talk about all the great things that come with an opening, sometimes there are things that just don't hit. Like for example, I think we can all agree in recent times with You Are My Special, during that vital Yuji moment, like it just completely killed the vibe of the moment, but I can't deny, whoever made that creative decision had the craziest smile on their face, knowing they're about to piss off an entire fan base just from the opening alone. Same goes for Black Clover Opening 1, trying to be One Piece's first opening with how many times they spam it during any crucial fight in Black Clover. And as unfortunate as it is to say, some openings just don't hit the same and they're pretty skippable. I already know I'm about to make some of you mad with this, but who cares? At the end of the day, it's my channel, not yours. Cry in the comments about it, but my war from the final season of Attack on Titan is something I immediately turn off regardless of the occasion because that shit is trash. Make My Story from My Hero Academia, you're not even getting past the first line before I skip that hoe completely. There's a few more out there, but I have a feeling that I'll just keep those to myself. Overall though, openings can, to say the least, be hit or miss. It just really depends on whether or not it's something you can vibe to. And at the end of the day, it's the music that speaks to you, and I think everyone has their taste, some better than others, but what can you really do? However, when it comes to some of my favorites, I think by making this video, I kind of answered my own question on how an opening makes me feel. And it's more than likely the amalgamation of the beautiful world of animation and sound that, over the years, just vocalizes and visualizes a special place in my heart. So, like I said earlier, since it's been easy for me to say, it's probably more than likely easy for you too. But if not, let me know. How does an anime opening make you feel?